In today's episode, we're going to talk about teeny tiny complaints, micro complaints. And I'm going to ask you if you are a micro complainer. Let's start the day. Welcome to Every Day, a New Thought Show. I'm Thor Challgren, and I have a question for you. Are you a micro complainer? You may wonder what that term means, and I think it's possible I invented it. I took it from a term that I've heard that I thought was interesting, and I explored a little bit called microaggressions. This was a term that a researcher coined originally back in the early 70s. And the idea with the microaggression is that it's a term to describe small forms of aggression that can have a negative impact on the listener. An example of a microaggression might be there's a sort of all sorts of ways that it can appear, but one is that this idea of someone being an alien in their own land. So someone might assume that a person of color is a foreigner, and they might say to them, so where are you really from? Or why don't you have an accent? So that would be a form of a microaggression. And the idea is that microaggressions in and of themselves are small and maybe don't feel hurtful. But if you are the person that's having to live with this all of the time, your environment is one in which you constantly feel that people are belittling you, judging you, putting you down. So that's the term microaggression. So when it comes to a micro complaint, and are you a micro complainer? The way that I think about that is all the small things that might not feel like a big, huge complaint, but that when you add them up, the totality demonstrate a tendency for looking for the negative in things. So if you're a micro complainer and you are doing this to someone else, you are creating an environment in which you are constantly judging them, or maybe this is happening to you. So some examples might be that look at things around the house, like you might say, oh, I see you didn't do the laundry, or, I know that you did the best you could, or, oh, you didn't do the dishes. Like they're in some ways, these will probably sound like passive aggressive things. Like instead of coming out and saying, oh, I thought we were going to do it this way, why did you not do that? You're saying it in a way that is passively attacking that person. That's if you do it to someone else. You can also do it to yourself. For instance, let's say you're on the highway and you come to slow down in traffic. How do you react? Do you say things like, oh, not again, or, this always happens to me, or of course? Those in a way are micro complaints. You're not outwardly in a huge way complaining about traffic, but you're saying subtle little things that create this tendency where you're observing and then you're labeling and you're affirming things that you don't like. So they are micro complaints. So today, think about looking for ways in which you might micro complain, either about yourself, about someone else, about your situation. These could be things like the unwashed dishes, the unmade bed, putting clothes on the floor, or it could be ways that you judge yourself. So when you notice those, ask yourself, does this serve me? And if it doesn't, which it probably doesn't, ask, what can you do about it? How can you proactively change this situation in a way where you recognize it, you decide and declare what you want it to be instead, and then you take action on it. So don't be a micro complainer. Thank you for watching the show today. If you like this episode, please consider subscribing to my channel and liking this episode. That will help the show grow and build a community of people who look for the positive in each other. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.